Well, joining us now for more on the ethics behind our cosmetics, Dr. Macrene Alexiades-Armenakas, Director of the Dermatology and Laser Surgery Center in New York. She's also served as an expert for L'Oreal and Lancôme. Thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Now, for people who may not be familiar, why is mica so widely used in beauty products?
Mica is a pigment that reflects light, and it is widely used to create a reflectant property to cosmetic products.
Now, in terms of alternatives, obviously, if we're seeing these distressing images of these children mining for this product, some people might be looking for an alternative. What's on the market that would be a good alternative?
I'm not only a dermatologist, but I actually do manufacture a luxury anti-aging skincare line, 37 Actives, and I actually omitted mica when I recently launched my foundation. Specifically for this reason, I vet the source of every ingredient in my product line, and there are alternative pigments that are actually, in my opinion, superior to mica.
And could you give us some examples?
Well, there are many different types of pigments that can be used, but there are iron oxides, for example, that can create reflectant and pigmentary properties. And so there are alternatives in the industry that can be used such that mica can be eliminated until we can be assured of ethical sources of that ingredient.
Now, one of the issues that came up is a lot of times when it comes to the final product, people may not know where these things originally came from. So in terms of the kinds of records that cosmetics firms have to keep when it comes to labor and general corporate social responsibility, what sort of records are available for people to find?
Indeed, you need to depend on the credibility of the company that you're dealing with. In my case, I personally vet the source of each and every ingredient used in my products. When you're dealing with a very large company, that becomes very difficult. So it's important for reporting such as this to bring these issues to the fore, which forces large cosmetic companies to rise up and raise the bar.
Now, having this information is one thing, but seeing it make a difference is another. Do consumers care enough for it to make a difference to cosmetic firms' bottom lines?
I absolutely believe that consumers do care, and that if we propagate this knowledge, it makes a big difference. My own daughter writes for the Huffington Post, and she's preparing a blog on this very topic, and she's only a teenager. So there's a great deal of awareness these days about the ethical sourcing of ingredients and the avoidance of child labor.
Now, as we look at mica, that's just one example. And, you know, as you said, there are other materials out there. But what about warnings on labels about how things are processed? What should be on our label when we're checking, what should be on our radar when we're checking these labels for what's in these products?
Typically, there are certain things you can look for that would indicate that the owner or the manufacturer is going that extra mile. For example, looking for products that have organic produced ingredients, for example, or that specifically cite the source of ingredients. In the case of my line, I source the ingredients from US-based labs. This allows me to do a direct inspection of labs to assure myself that the ingredients are being manufactured the way they're claiming to be manufactured.
Now, if you're someone who's not in the industry and you're just a consumer and you're trying to find out, you're a consumer with a conscience, how do you find out if these are child labor-free products?
Well, it's quite difficult in my case because all the ingredients are US sourced and there are very strict regulations about child labor laws in the United States. You can assure yourself that if it's an ingredient that's manufactured or produced in the US, that it is extremely unlikely that a child would be involved in its manufacture. So it's really important for companies that are based in countries such as India to really step up and start to do their due diligence and prove to the rest of the world that they're ready to do business with reputable companies and to start instituting labor laws and inspections. And I believe it's the onus of responsibility is on the company that sources that ingredient to actually go and inspect the factories where these ingredients are being made.
Now, when it comes to the next big thing, obviously, if mica was so widely used, what sort of materials are gaining popularity that you're hearing about that are really standing out?
The other area that concerns me and interests me a great deal are ingredients that may be of an animal source Oftentimes on cosmetic products, you might have an ingredient called out like hydrolyzed collagen or hydrolyzed elastin, and the consumer may not understand that that actually comes from an animal source. So this is another area where strict labeling standards need to be put in place, regardless of the source of the ingredients, so that the consumer is informed.
Well, lots of food for thought there. A big thank you there to Dr. Macrene Alexiades-Armenakas. Thank you for joining us.